What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Be the Trader. I have a unique episode for you today. I had a one-on-one conversation with a gentleman named Matthew. He found consistency and he made around $250,000 and then ended up losing it all. And now he's working his way back. So you're going to learn a lot from this conversation. And he's been training for quite some time. So for people who've been training for 5 years, 6 years, and scratching their head, he's been training for 10 years and he's working on consistency now. So don't lose hope. And I hope you enjoy this episode. And if you do, please share it with another friend or trader. And again, enjoy. That would be my homework. I would be like, you know what? That period where I just killed it, quote unquote, let me go look at every single trade and then let me divide them between winners and losers.
Basically, like I was in the military, and then after that, I started going offshore, right? And then so I was making a lot of money in the oil and gas industry. So I just decided to dabble in just trading. And the first trading group I've ever joined was Tim Sykes, and it didn't like work really well for me. So maybe, and I always blame myself, right? Like I didn't use it to its full potential, I would say. But there was like a lot of noise, and I noticed that like things would go up before, like once he alerted it, things would go up, and I didn't know about like chat room hype and all that stuff. So tried him. I tried like various different services that he had, and then I went to like Superman Trades, and then went to Investors Underground, went to Warrior Trading. Now like I got like lifetime memberships for Jason Bond and whatever, because I love their content. Anyway, so I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah, right. So you feel me, man. And you know what? Like, so I was actually watching one of your videos, and it gave me the idea. Like, maybe I didn't like. I've subscribed to these services, but I never got like one-on-one mentorship, right?
Yeah.
So I think my main question would revolve around, I started with Tim. I know what to expect in his chat room, and I watched one of your videos, and you're like, sometimes the chat room's not that like valuable if you aren't a beginner trader. And I've been trading for about 10 years part time, and then like maybe 2 years, not even full time, because I currently work for Microsoft. So
Nice. My brother just started a job there, so that's cool.
Oh, did you? Did you really? That's awesome.
He did.
It's a great company. So one of my main question that I'd like to revolve around would be, like, do you recommend Tim Sykes, I think, challenge, and then versus Dux's freedom group or whatever? Mainly because I'm a very like analytical trader. I love trading. I love looking at stock charts all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I want to revolve around. But I wanted to tell you like just a few more minutes about like what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me. So yeah, again, I've bounced around with these services, and I found that like I really love technical trading. I love examining charts, drawing support and resistance lines. What I have found worked for me has been using like Bollinger Bands and using like peaks and valleys, and they've been really good support resistance lines for me. I did pretty well with options when I left Chevron, and then just kind of like spent like 2 years. I got all the way up to like making maybe 250K in maybe a year and a half. But then I like lost most of it, right? So because I never liked being wrong, so I didn't cut my losses quick enough. Things like that have worked. And what I think the biggest realization I've kind of seen is that as far as trading goes, it's not that I don't grasp it, or it's not that I don't like understand it. I've been pretty accurate with my with my decisions. It's just like I think execution maybe and follow through is probably is lacking. But I've basically this whole time I just wanted to get your opinion on one, like what I should maybe focus on, and that's a hard question for you because you don't like that's a very vague question, right? And two, like what has worked for you, and three, just like some general guidance about
So
mentorship and all that stuff.
just based off what you're telling me though, man, like I don't think you need a service. Like I don't think that's the answer.
Yeah.
Like you've tried all these services. There's at the end of the day, I don't push any services, period. But
Right.
but what I will say is just hearing what you had to say. You try all these services. You kind of found what works for you. You actually had a period of 2 years where you made some good income from it, and then you lost it. I don't know how quickly. Was it like on one trade, couple of trades, or hundreds of trades? Like, do you know the answer to that? Like, did you lose it?
I probably had so I think I lost it during election time. So maybe like over the course of 6 months.
Okay.
I was like, I
So it
know
was
better.
several trades. It wasn't just like one big blow up. Okay, cool.
Right.
And then after that, what happens then? What happened right after that? Like, where are you at right now? Are you treading water? You just stopped completely?
Because I started a new job and I was just like,
okay,
let's focus on that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. That shows me that you have discipline for sure.
Right.
That shows me you have discipline and you make a decision, you stick with it. So I'm surprised when you said earlier that you would hold and didn't want to be wrong. So we'll get into that in a minute. But first off, I'm thinking, no, I think you should just focus on what you are good at. And hopefully you tracked every single trade that got you to that 250. Like you need to go back and look at every single one of those, right? Since you're not trading right now, that would be my homework. I would be like, you know what? That period where I just killed it, quote unquote, let me go look at every single trade and then let me divide them between winners and losers. And then I want you to look at, have you done this? You can cut me off if you've already done this.
I did it like maybe towards the end of it, but yeah, I wasn't good at it. I didn't had good discipline with it.
Are you talking about you've already looked at them or you didn't track it?
I didn't track it. I've looked at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much would you say you tracked?
I tracked it like after. So let's say I lost that 250K and then I traded like a 13K account for my friend during the election time. So I probably tracked that.
Okay. So not during your good period. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
time is really a big issue.
that right there is something that it's too late, right? But however, if you can go upload your trades through a platform like TraderView, you at least can see them, right?
Right.
And then it takes a lot more work now because you didn't do it before. But I still recommend you upload them to TraderView, go look at that period only, right? And look at all the winners. And then while you look at it, it's going to take a long time, brother. I'm just going to tell you right now, because you didn't do it beforehand, right? I want you to type in, what type of strategy it was. If it's just all one strategy, then you're good. But then you want to type in long, short, like differentiate the two. You also want to tag it with the actual setup. Then like if it's a unique trigger, maybe the two same strategies, but two different triggers, you want to start nailing that down. And then same thing with the losers. If it's going to be hard with the losers, say you were emotional, anticipating because you don't remember. So don't kind of guess that. Just be as clear as you can. And then you're going to review all of your winners, right? And I want you to review just the big winners, right? At first, I want you to just look at all the big winners that kind of separate. So like let's just, for simplicity, if you were just making $100 on average every trade, but then all your big winners were 200 plus, now I want you to look at all the 200 plus. It has to be like a big difference, right? So I want to look at all those. It might be like 2 pages worth, maybe 3. And then I want you to analyze those over and over and over, man, because you're going to you might not recognize anything right away, but I want you to analyze them over and over. And you said you're analytical, so I'm sure you'll pick it up quicker than most.
Yeah.
And take notes of what you recognize, anything that's similar. And then look at your biggest losers, every single one of those, and do the exact same thing. And then take notes. And then when you're done with that, you look at both of those notes. And then right there, you already know your strategy. So now you have a way to improve your strategy by focusing on what's working and eliminating what's not. So you can drastically improve those results. So that's one thing I would highly recommend. The other thing with cutting loss, I mean, it seems like you're doing well, but you don't want to like being wrong. So was it a matter of like, you were still doing like just big losers were taking you out, but you still had consistency in terms of like your strategy still worked and you just took big losses because you just were not disciplined in taking the loss? What can you explain that?
Yeah. So I did do a little bit of analytics, and I think what I found out was my winners were like between, like anywhere from like $20 to $3,000. But my losers, like you were saying, were really big. So
Okay.
yeah,
So hopefully it wasn't the strategy just completely just debacled and never worked again. Because I'm assuming it still works. I'm assuming that you probably got emotional along the way and started to get loose with your strategy, started to hold a little bit longer, started to size in sooner because you're nervous
right,
about missing something. So a lot of that happens during that phase. So
right,
in terms of cutting your losses, like I don't know if you do this now or back in the day, but dude, you got to use a hard stop, man. You got to
yeah,
use a
trading
hard
plan.
stop. Like no, a hard stop period. Like, yeah,
Oh,
trading
really?
plan, sure, but a
Yeah,
hard stop. For someone
sure,
who has a problem with discipline of cutting, you have to. And if you're scared of getting shaken out,
sure.
then you need to size in with that in mind. So in other words, if you want to risk a whole just for simplicity, if you want to risk $100, like it's $100, like say we're trading a stock, it's at $99 and you want to risk $100 and you're shorting, or do you short or
Right.
long? Do you do both?
I like to do long, but because I hate
Okay, cool.
dealing with the
So let's say
futures.
we're longing a stock at $99 and we're risking 98, right? And we think it's going to go to
Yeah,
105, 110, right? In this scenario, instead of just sizing for $1, right, 98, because you're scared or you don't want to get wicked out or whatever it may be,
yeah,
you need to size in for like 97.20, not 97.75, 97.80, and then have a hard stop there. So that way, you can give it a second to test because it may
sure,
dip under for a second and then go back. But that's something you need to implement in your own plan to help you stick to a hard stop. Because when I say hard stop, some people, they see it, they understand it, and they'll do it, but then they'll adjust it because they don't want to get wigged out.
yeah,
And then they adjust it after they've already sized in, so they're taking bigger losses. So I'm trying to
sure,
show you like there's multiple ways to play with this.
sure.
Just pick what works best for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm taking notes, man. So if I'm looking down,
Oh,
that's
it's
what
all
I'm
good.
doing.
It's all good. Um,
Do you mean like so? Do you recommend like a stop loss because sometimes that won't work, right? If it drops too
Stop loss.
fast.
No, it will work quicker than you.
Yeah,
I don't get what people
right.
say when people say like I'm stuck in a trade because it just went right past my stop. I was like, no, that makes no sense. That literally will never happen. The only
Sure.
reason that will happen is because you just don't want to take the loss further down. That's it.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah.
can take the loss. So hard stop, I do market hard stops. Like I do that all
Okay,
the time. And that's what works for me because number one, I mean, I like to trade and be relaxed. I like to put my order in, get executed, put my hard stop, and then leave. And that's just
sure.
what I like to, that's just me, right? My personality.
Okay,
But before I like to do that, I would sit here all day and I'd put hard stops and I'll be in 3, 4 tickers. I don't have time to sit here and try to get out of one and then try to get in this one. You want to prevent as many errors as you can, right? So
okay, yeah.
those hard stops, especially when you're trying to get going. You know what I'm saying?
So okay, so I'm assuming this, but you're talking about stock, like straight stocks, right? Because I was trading options, and sometimes putting
Okay.
stop losses get.
So I don't trade options. So
Okay,
I can't, I'm not going to sit here and say I know exactly. I don't. But is there
sure.
not a hard stop for options?
There is, but sometimes it's a huge a gap. Let's say like before it gets executed, right? Like if it's running,
Okay. Well,
you have volatility and stuff like that. Yeah.
stocks can do that too, but I don't know the difference. What I will say is if that's an issue, then let's say you like to risk for simplicity again. Let's say we want to risk $100. Like if I ask you, like, what do you want to risk for a trade when you start again? You say $100. I'm like, okay, great.
Right.
Since options has this issue, then you need to account for that. And instead of being comfortable with losing $100 every time you size in, you need to size in for 75. So when things slip, like they do, worst case, you lose 100, maybe a little bit more, but you're not losing 200, you know what I'm saying? You're not losing drastic more. So that way, because your whole goal, man, like hopefully what you're seeing is my whole goal in this quick part of the conversation is to focus on mitigating those losses, right? Like keep them so small. Because the biggest thing, man, like I was just out with Nate and Cody. They're on Twitter, they're traders.
Nate Davis
And
or
yeah, no, Nate Michaud and Cody
oh
on
yeah,
Stock
yeah,
Trader. And
sure.
during our discussions, like it hits every time, dude. And all the books I ever read, and including in my own trading. And what I'm seeing more clear is that the difference between like a good trader, a great trader, a greater trader, an amazing trader is just one is better at taking losses than the other. And then this guy's better at taking losses than this guy. You know what I'm saying? It just does
Yeah.
that. And so the better loser you can be, the quote unquote, potentially the more success you can have. And but
So
you gotta
that's what
have
you really found. Like, was what was the
that's
differentiating
what that
factor?
is like a huge different. Now, granted, trading is not simple. Trading is not one thing; it's multiple things. But
Right.
risk is huge. But part of
Yeah.
risk is being able to take a loss and and there's a difference between being able to take a loss and take a loss at the same level as this guy, but get upset and then
Yeah. Yeah.
revenge and then size and more. You know what I'm saying? And there's also a
Yeah.
difference of we both take losses, but they both don't get upset. But this guy just doesn't really have a handle on how the size. He never knows how much he's going to lose. He never knows.
Right.
Whereas this guy always knows. You know what I'm saying? Like that is
Right.
huge difference. Because if you were controlling that, it'd be really hard to lose that. You know what I'm saying? It'd be really hard unless you just lost discipline. And you know what I'm saying? Like that's the biggest thing. So like you really got to focus in on cutting those losses. And for you, hard stops or whatever it is in options, like I'll talk to Matt Diamond. He's an option trader. He's a buddy of mine. I'll ask him what he recommends for that because I'm sure he's good at cutting losses, but he's in and out, like he's
Yeah.
cutting them himself. So I get that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, you better cut. You need to cut. And then if you have a problem with that, then what I would recommend is start really small, right? Really
Right.
small until you have like a month straight of never holding against your wrist, like never. Like have that rule, like document it every day. Did I hold
Right.
against my wrist? That means a good day. I did not. Great. And you do that straight. It's hard discipline, but you need that because I don't want you sized up big and then you don't cut and then you can wipe out. You've seen it. You can just wipe out a
Right.
lot. And that is like very demoralizing. And I
Yeah.
just don't want you to go through that. And I'm surprised, like you seem fine, which is great because you just want to move forward and push. So that's
Right.
good. But go ahead. I'm just talking too much.
No. I was just saying. I think with options, there's a thing called theta decay, where you're losing value on the premium. So like that's why your losses, your stop losses, all automatically like if your trade is going sideways, you're basically going to be at your stop loss, even if the stock doesn't like lose value because
Okay.
there's a theta decay um,
It's
component
crazy
to
how
it.
people trade options. I have
Yeah,
nothing against it. I just don't know it.
yeah. No, yeah, and so that I was actually thinking about like maybe going back to stocks, and you just need more capital, and so I just probably have to.
When it comes to look, so here's the other thing. Like, you'd be surprised that sure you need some capital, yeah, sure, but you don't need a ton to make good returns as long as you're really strict on risk reward. Right. Like if you're a trader who just is like, oh, this is a setup and you just take it because it is a setup and it did trigger and it did show you and it looks perfect. Great. But if you're but even better, if you're like, oh, this is my setup, it triggered. Wait a minute. What's the risk reward on this one?
Mm-hmm.
If you take that pause, because I was the first trader at first. When I first got consistent, I was like, oh, I'm getting consistent. Let me just trade everything that is my setup. That's fine. I was still consistent, but like I would have just like 1 hour a day, maybe I'd be like baby tread. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But like until I got strict and said, you know what, I'm only going to trade when it's like a high odds and there's a high risk reward. Granted, there's some that I pass up because it doesn't look like good risk reward and it ends up being amazing. You got to get comfortable with that feeling, which sucks.
Sure.
But you got to get comfortable with it, right? And then on the ones that are high risk reward, you just take those, and sometimes they don't work. But when they do work, the odds are in your favor, the risk rewards in your favor, and you can really skew it to your side.
Sure. Got it. Cool. And I think we covered a lot of that, like the consistency part, which is super helpful. Let's see. I wanted to like kind of chat about. We're kind of bouncing around, but like I wanted to chat
Sure.
about um, the challenge programs. What you thought about that, and like, do you recommend one over the other? The only reason I'm thinking more about like Dux's program is that he does a lot more analytics, and like working for Microsoft and doing like AI stuff. Like I could probably incorporate that a lot easier into my timeline, into my trading. So,
Hmm.
but do you have any experience with either?
So,
Sorry, like comparison.
so I mentioned earlier that I don't really, I thought from your point of view, like you probably
Okay,
want to say solo. Remember, because you brought up that you went through all these challenges, you went through different services. So I thought my gut tells me like, hey, try by yourself. Just do
okay,
it. Like you have nothing to lose for like at least. I'd be surprised if you don't stick to that after like 3 months. You'd be like, man, like because
I got it. Yeah,
there's something different.
yeah,
So to answer, I've already done reviews on the challenge like a long time ago, so you can go watch that.
okay,
But I mean, I haven't done it now. It's been years, so I can't
sure,
tell you what I think about it now, and that's why I don't push because I don't know. I don't like things could
right,
change. There's, what I'm saying. There's just so much, and it's just hard for me to recommend something like that.
right,
Like what I will say though is you'd be surprised though, man, if you were able to change and get consistent, right?
sure,
Then I would be shocked that if you took a month, 2 months just by yourself, didn't look at any Twitter, didn't get on any chat room. I know you have Lifetime, whatever. Don't get on any chat room
right,
and just focus on you. Because by now you know what you need to find, you know how to find it. So therefore, you just need to sit there and trust yourself. And over time, that trust will build confidence in yourself. And then you'll start to
right,
trade better. And
sure,
it's a different feeling, man. Like it's unless you've done it before, like if you've never been completely isolated from anybody and just trading on your own for months at an end, you'd be surprised on how you feel as a trader. Like you're
mm,
you're more happier. And at least for me, this is my experience. I'm more happier. I'm more focused. I don't care if I miss something. Like it's just you just keep growing. So that's just
yeah.
something I would recommend for you, especially since you found something that works for you.
Yeah, and actually, that's a good point, man. Like I followed a lot of people, and I would say like at least 50% of the time, if not more, I was like, man, I wish I didn't listen to that guy. Like I knew that was a bad trade, and I still took it. And yeah, that's a really good point.
It's hard though, man, because it's because whoever we follow them for a reason. Like because we think they're
Right,
better than us, we think they are a good trader. There's something that we want to learn, right?
right,
And so, especially when it comes to trading, I granted we follow some people because we're friends, right? I get it. Like not everyone's, so I kind of blanketed it, but I experienced this so many times, man, where I'd see another trader say XYZ, and I've even made videos about this, and I'd be like, "Ooh, I wasn't even looking at that," but then I'd get on it, and then I'll take a loss, and then that does so many things. Number one, it makes me number one, I'm not sticking to what I know. Number two, when I take that loss, what do I say? Oh, I knew I shouldn't have traded that. And then in my head, I'm kind of making an excuse saying
yeah,
that wouldn't have happened. It's his fault. He kind of gave that to me. So in my head, it kind of festers in some way. I may not say that, but
right,
there's a part of me that's probably feeling that. And then number three, it may prevent me from taking my trade. Like
right,
it's gonna prevent me from taking my trade because I'm upset or I missed it, and then I'm even more mad. Like so, and then here's the other thing: he may do well on the trade, and that's what's unique about trading, right? Like there's so many ways to trade. You and I like can trade the exact same ticker, the exact same strategy, and have different results. We can have
sure,
both positive, both negative, or inverse, and it
sure,
happens all the time. As you know, there's a trader I talked to, Scott. We'll trade similar tickers. We won't know that we're doing anything until the end of the day. I'm like, hey, what'd you end up trading? He'll say, I traded this. I'm like, me too. I actually shorted it here. He's like, well, I longed it. And I'm like, it's just like, if I were to talk to
Yeah.
him in the moment, he'd have 30 years on me of trading.
Sure.
I probably wouldn't have touched it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so like I know my weakness. So I try to separate myself from that and learn to focus on my strengths. So that's what I
Sure.
recommend for you too.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. That makes sense. Have you found? So I wanted to ask you, like, when did you find your consistency? Like, I assume it's the
I'd
same thing, risk
said,
reward, and
I think it was back in around November of 2019. So this November will be 2 years.
okay. And
And
what was there like a defining point as like, okay, like now I'm consistent, or
it's
did you do something that, yeah,
the one thing at first, there's so many moments because like the first thing that really helped me is whenever I just eliminated all my longs. This was back then. Now I long
okay,
now. I long
sure,
today I longed. So like, but back then, so keeping in perspective, when I first started to get like actually had consistency, and it was November 2019. Before that, I was consistent, but I was like consistent, lost a little bit, consistent, lost a little bit. So it was still going, but it was like big dips. But
yeah,
once I figured out, let's eliminate longs, let's focus on only shorts, then it was like, I would say more consistent, right?
sure,
That's when I could say I'm consistent. And so when that happened, that whole year from November 2019 till around, I'd say it's like, I think it was around October 2020. I was only trading one strategy, just one strategy, dude. And
that's awesome.
yeah, and I didn't talk to nobody. I was focused on I talked on the show. Because I just talked on the camera, right? I didn't talk to nobody online because I realized it wasn't helping me. Because before that happened, I was like, man, I knew it worked for me, but I kept getting influenced. So I
Right.
eliminated all that. And that one strategy was like a gap and crap strategy. And there was months though, like there was months where it was rocking. Like there was months like that strategy popped up every day or once every other day. And then there was months where, dude, I only placed 5 trades the entire month, but I didn't place any trades except those. So I
Sure.
was very disciplined. And so that's how I initially got onto it. So that's to answer your question.
So do you trade mostly large caps or OT? I don't think you do OTC, right?
I don't do any OT. I mean,
Yeah,
I will if it's like, I don't even look for them to be honest. I don't look for
sure.
OTCs. Like I probably placed like 2 OTC trades all of this year. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
and I don't even remember what they were. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really care about OTCs because I think they're great. I think they can move. I think they're easier. Easier is a weird word to use in trading because if you don't know OTCs, you can really lose really big because of how
yeah,
quickly they can move, you know?
right,
So, but what I will say is OTCs, it requires your full attention.
sure.
It
Okay.
does. There's no
So,
hard
what,
stops. Like there's no
right.
hard stops. Like you
And
need to
that's
be.
I think that's why I was saying that. It was probably I was trading OTCs and they like blew past my
I
stops
mean,
like,
it's still going to stop
wait,
you out. You'll still
right,
get it, but hard stops
right.
and
It's
OTCs, you probably need to set it a little different than you do in
sure.
Nasdaq,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like
sure.
because you know how they move. You know, like you
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
set them a little different, maybe sizing a little different. It just depends on the play too. It depends on where you're entering. It depends like
right,
if this is a longer term picture, if there's multiple levels of support, okay, I can size in bigger because there's so many levels of support. You know, like it just depends. If there's just one level
sure.
of support, you might want to be a little, careful. So it just depends. Like, and that's trading.
Right.
There's no black and white. It's just gray.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, and I think as we were talking about that, I do realize like I'm good at setting support resistance lines, but as you were saying, there's multiple levels of support and resistance, and I was probably like putting all my eggs on one
Hmm.
resistance line, and it bounced off of the second one. So that's why that's what I think made me second guess my strategy and stuff like that. Like I was right, but like I probably should have been better at sizing up or whatnot.
It just comes
Um,
down to like that's just experience, though, right? Like
yeah,
at the end of the day, like all these markets, I mean, trading is trading at the end of the day,
sure.
but each market has a little nuances, right? Like it's
Right.
OTC is a little different on how you manage risk, on how you view stops and support resistance. Like it's a little different. Like they kind of really do hold, and if they
Right.
don't hold, then they don't. Whereas NASDAQ is like choppy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
yeah, like we'll have this resistance zone, but it's like all around the zone, like
Sure.
it's
Sure.
just
Sure.
different.
Yeah.
So, but it's still the same process when it comes to executing.
Right.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome. So how do you scan for your stocks? Like, what's your process?
so for me, it's simple, man. I just look at big percent gainers and big percent losers, and I just pull them up on my Dash Trader Pro. It just pops up. It's like a default setting. And then I use some website, which I've created a video of. I'll send you a link if you need it. But it's like some stock market website where it just pops up pre-market gainers and losers. It's usually the same that Dash shows me, but sometimes there's one that's different. So I'll pull that. But that's all I do.
Gotcha.
I look at those and then I pick out which ones stand out to me and then go from there.
Very like almost like a stupid question, but like, so do you do big percent gainers in the hopes of it being like there's a lot of interest in it, and you're just hoping like to catch like a scalp trade off of it, or
I don't scout.
okay,
So I look for the move. And so I'm either going to long it or short it, depending on what it's setting up like. So maybe it's really bullish, like it's showing me higher lows and showing me a nice trend line. Maybe it's showed me that it broke out of some other previous area. I need a couple of things going together.
sure,
And then I'll pick up an area to enter and then ride it for the move. And the move for me, for me, scalping is just not in my nature. Like I'm not,
sure,
I never I tried it for like a second, like a day or two. It's just not for me. I
yeah,
like to just sit in something and let it work. And so
okay,
like, I think so my swing trading, like when I swing trade, like I love swing trading. I don't
okay,
ever talk about it because it's
right,
not like fancy, swing trading is like you
right,
place a trade and then you let it sit there for a week, like,
right,
so
right, right, right,
it's different. But I would say my trading style is like intraday swing trading is pretty
okay,
much. So like I'm in and out on the same day, but I may be in at the open and out at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
okay, cool. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So you see a big pullback, big move, and then wait for the pullback, try to get in a good risk reward
Correct.
zone, and okay,
Correct. Yeah. And
okay,
but there's sometimes where I'm out in an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if
yeah,
it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. So it just is what it
yeah,
is.
that's awesome, man. Awesome. Um, do you do you research the market at all, or like that's one thing I hate doing is like
What do you
researching the
mean by
market.
research?
Well,
Before I
researching
say
like
no.
stocks and stuff like that, like because I'm a technical analysis,
Yeah.
technical trader, and so I don't like to do like investment, like SEC filings like
Oh,
Tim
okay.
does, and
So I went
just
through that phase
yeah,
where I looked at, I know how, because I went through a
yeah,
huge phase of just learning everything I can about SEC, all these, all the, just offerings, ATMs, all of that. Like I went through a whole phase of that because I was like, I'm doing well shorting. What if I add this to it? For me, it doesn't work for me
sure,
because what it does for me is it gives me too much conviction to
yeah,
where I'm like, this is a short. And then I just don't even see it's a
yeah,
clear long, because it may be a
right,
short, but it's a long right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't use it. All I do when it comes to day trading is just technical analysis. That's it. I don't use any indicators at all. The
okay,
only thing that I use is my volume that comes on my chart on default. And then I draw my own support, draw my own trends, and that's it.
okay, gotcha. Why do you use Dash Trader or Speed Trader? I used it before with Warrior Trading, but
I
I
use
liked it.
gas.
Yeah,
Why? Just because it's execution. I don't look at it.
sure.
I just have it up to execute. I'm looking at Thinkorswim all day
Okay, cool.
because
But you found
Thinkorswim is
that,
amazing for me.
so you found that execution on Thinkorswim is kind of
It's
lagging a little bit.
garbage.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
for me it is.
Hmm.
E-Trade is great. E-Trade Pro, like I swing trade on E-Trade,
Okay,
but execution time doesn't really matter as much on there. But I used to day trade on E-Trade when that was my first account, and it's really good in my opinion. Thinkorswim, I only traded for like a day or two. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. It wasn't user friendly in terms of executing, trying to figure out. It just wasn't friendly for me. But DAS is real easy. DAS is like super easy and quick, and you can select any route you want, so you can get rebates, which may not matter if you're a long bias trader as it would a short bias trader. But those can give you back money, so it's good.
Yeah, you should try the Active Trader platform. I don't know if you tried that before, where you just like click on a price and buy like 1,000.
Is that on Thinkorswim?
Thinkorswim. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's what I've been using, but I don't know if the execution's there. So it's
if I ever did that, I still would use DAS's level 2 in time and sales, because Thinkorswim is garbage. I in my opinion, it's garbage level 2 and garbage time and sales. I just don't like it. That's just my opinion. So.
Do you use level 2 and time and sales for all your trades, or?
Nah. So it's funny. I say that I love seeing it there. So there's rare occasions, very rare, dude, that I ever look at like that I'm worried about bid and ask and time and sales, like super, like maybe once a month. One trade a month.
Right.
But if I need to look at it, I want to be able to rely on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like, so that's why I prefer DAS, if that makes sense. Gotcha. Like 99.9% of my trades, I don't even, I see it because it's there, but I've been tricked so many times. Yeah. When my setup is there and I get scared by something I see on level 2 or time and sales that I just hesitate, and then I miss my badass entry. And then I'm like, oh my God. So I just don't even look at that unless it's a setup that I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm trying to catch a move, maybe I'm trying to catch a turn and it's coming to key areas. I'll pay attention to time and sales. Level 2 is just, there's so much manipulation level 2. There's just
I was going to say
much time. And now on OTCs, it's amazing. But on NASDAQ, it's just, it's noise. But time and sales on NASDAQ, if you get an eye for it over time, it's not guaranteed, just like in trading, but it helps you feel more confident in catching a turn.
Right. Awesome, man. Yeah. So like, and obviously you have to like edit your videos. Like, so I was thinking about like, trade some of your videos with like Mari and, like even Nate or whatever. But are those all trades that are like large size shorts, or were they like, I know man, I forgot his name. I messaged him on Twitter, Mari's boyfriend or whatever,
Jack Kellogg.
Jack, yeah, that's right. And I know he does a mixture of both, I think long and shorts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, like I would love to get to even like a fraction of that point, but it's like, that's why like I was like wondering if I just needed mentorship in, hey, let me go ask these guys questions, or what, like kind of review trades with people. So
what do you mean a fraction of? I don't understand.
Well, meaning his, let's say like average gains or something.
Oh yeah. I gotcha.
So because that was like really inspiring. It's kind of frustrating doing this for like almost like 10 years.
Don't worry about that, dude. Yeah. Like, let me tell you right now. Like, so there's a trader I know, like specifically 10 years, unprofitable, 10 years straight.
Wow.
And then he killed it.
Okay.
And guess what? Does he think about it? It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and I hear this often. Most of these traders, like whenever you're consistent, like number one, like your losses when you start to compound, they'll just be small compared to when you compound. You know what I'm saying? So like, because you're not trading huge right now. You know what I'm saying? Because you're learning and you're growing. So like, don't be too hard on yourself. That's my weakness too sometimes. Like where I'm like, God, I should be where Nate Michaud is. But Nate's been trading for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like consistently. Like it's like I've been 4 years. So like it's
sure
the give or take. And so like we gotta be lenient on ourselves, because if not, we're going to be like that right there. That sign.
Yeah.
And you're going to always be thinking about what happened in the past, where you should be, what the losses you lost. And if that's going to hold you back, then you're not going to push forward in the right way, because you're always going to be thinking about that. So you just got to grow. Don't worry about it.
Awesome.
Because I mean, dude, you're young. You still look young to me. So like, as time goes on, this is, you know, this, the reason you're doing this is because this is a career. It could be an additional income, which is dope.
Yeah.
Right. But it's an additional income you can do anywhere. You can do while you're at your work. Like, you can learn you can have multiple sources of income, which I highly recommend everyone. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a smart way to go.
Do you, well, I'll ask you this question at the end, so you don't have to like, you know,
all right, no worries.
Edit whatever. So I really like, Steven's like method. I don't know much about it. And from everything that you were like everything I listened to you about on your videos, you were saying like the Duxinator video is like super good. And I don't know much about any of his other videos, but because I'm in technology and I wanted to incorporate I wrote a trading bot on Python once.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you just to experiment with it, you know. And I'd like to refine something like that really well. And I feel like his statistical analysis, which I could do through like AI on Microsoft, right, is really good. So what do you think about that? Like, is there do you feel like Dux is very methodical in like, hey, like these statistics are there, so I'm going to make a trade? Or is there still like a lot of, I don't want to say like decision, but
I haven't talked to Dux in probably, it's been a while, like 2-3 months.
Okay.
Maybe 2 months.
That's a lot.
So just to give perspective, sure. Right? Because things change.
Right.
He is so analytical from back then. Yeah. Like when I talked to him regularly, when he would show me things, I'd be like to the point where I would hate that job.
Sure. Okay.
I would hate it. Like if I had to be a successful trader by doing that, for me, I would never do it, and I would just quit. It's just not for me.
Sure.
That's his style. You know, like he likes that. I'm talking. I thought I had spreadsheets. Like I was like, yeah, look, here's my spreadsheets. Here's what I got. And he's like, no, let me show you this. And I was like,
yeah.
And he was like, it's like, it was overwhelming that
sure.
Even if you like he would offer that, I was like, no, I don't want that. Like I don't want it, because it doesn't. That's not who I want to be as a trader. Like people might hear this, you know, if we air it, and they'll be like, oh, I would take it in a heartbeat. But you know, I'm not looking to make money. I'm looking to be happy and trade well and enjoy my life. That's me. But everyone's different. Everyone's different. So, but Matt, Triforce trader.
Yeah.
Python. That's what he does. He creates.
Oh, interesting.
That's all he does. He creates like algo trades and all that.
Algos, right? Yeah.
So like, he's a great guy. So if you ever have questions, you can DM him. I'm sure he'll answer a DM. Like, because you created something like, hey, I'm just trying to, you know, any advice, like maybe he will. I can't speak for him, but maybe he will. And maybe, you know, just reach out to him. So he's a good guy and he knows his stuff when it comes to like that section of trading.
Sure. So again, like I'm taking your advice, but I do want to like also kind of, I almost don't want to like get FOMO from not trying it. So
yeah, that's fine.
With like, have you tried like what are your thoughts on like Dux's challenge?
The only thing I did with Dux was watch his DVDs. That's it. So I never took a challenge. So I don't know.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because I'm just trying to like almost like create a product, but for myself, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like wondering if that would be like super beneficial because of the way he trades. But
I can tell you, like, I think it was the second DVD. I call it DVD. The second course he released.
Yeah.
I did reviews on both of them, but on the second one, when I did the review, I said specifically that if you're an experienced trader,
yeah, I remember that.
You may like this because if you're not experienced, you're probably going to hate it because it's like him on a whiteboard. He's not really showing too much, but but with the way he's talking, it really you kind of can see how he thinks, and you're like,
Sure.
holy crap. I'm like, okay, like this makes sense. So if you're an experienced trader, you already have something that works for you. I think you could benefit from watching, and I think you've seen it. So you could benefit from watching those kind of things. So I enjoyed it because I was like, get in this guy's head, like it was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun to do. But for a
That was the
non-experienced trader,
Duxinator
it's
video, right?
probably, is that the second one? I don't remember which one's the first and second.
I remember Duxinator was the one that I think he was writing on the whiteboard. I think. I don't know.
Okay. Well, like 99.9% it's like that. So like if it's that one, then it's that one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, gotcha. Cool, man. Do you and so like what's your activity on Twitter? Like is that just like to keep up with people? Do you get any information on it or
I use Twitter for one, to stay in contact with the guests that I've had on my show. And two, to deliver content to the masses to help people find the show. And so that way I can help change the training community for the better. That's pretty much it. When I first got Twitter, it was a long time ago. I used it the wrong way. And for me, it was the wrong way for me. And that was like just seeing what everyone's trading, looking at their charts, and it just didn't, that was bad for me. So I don't do that anymore.
Got it. Cool, man. And I guess that question I was going to ask you was,
Sure.
I know like, like getting like, I guess the grind in trading is kind of hard, right? Do you, is relating to passive income, do you feel like YouTube, like you're doing just as well, or are there any like other streams that you found lucrative and things like that?
So I've been lucky, I've, God has definitely helped me out a lot. And I can tell you that I had no plans for any of this. It was so freaking wild. But the reason I preach multiple sources is because that also helped me stay consistent. Because I went through hard times. I share on the show. Like I'd be like, I had the worst couple.
That's why I contacted you. Like, I related. Yeah,
it happens. And so, but having multiple sources has been, I think, is the trick, really, because then you can stay focused. So like, YouTube happens to be a multiple source now. The podcast is as well. My business on the side where I help other people create content every once in a blue moon, like it's super small, but it's like an extra source of income, So I'm just like, it's just kind of opened my eyes, because all these traders that I've had on my show, you best believe that they don't just trade. You know what I'm saying? They don't, because they're smart. I mean, like you want to have multiple sources because they're going to go through hard times too. And so like you want to be able to withstand that and continue to grow. So for me, I have found it helpful. Yeah. And that's pretty much it. Awesome,
man. Cool, bro. I think you've answered all my questions. And you have any final thoughts for me?
No, that was easy, man. Like, just to let you know, I hopefully you knew this, but I mean, I had some people that share screens. I can share my screen, so if you ever have charts you want to go over, we could do that. If you want to, if I happen to trade today, you could be like, I could share you my screen, like, here's what I was thinking. Like, I don't mind doing any of that. So, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the YouTube lives, like I used to do them for months straight. I share it all on the screen. So if you ever want to do something like that, you're always, I'm open to that. So just FYI.
Awesome, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time. And I'm glad we made this happen.
Absolutely, brother. It's no big deal to me. I appreciate you.